Hi, my love. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we are diving into something really powerful: how to stop being bothered by others or your environment. This can truly shift how you experience life, and I'll talk you through them step by step. We'll break this into a few parts. First, we'll talk about how others are just reflections of you, and how changing your perspective actually changes your reality. Next, I'll explain how you maintain this in them, whether it's positive or negative. And we'll talk about time a little bit. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's get started. Let's begin with the idea that others are mirrors of your own beliefs and perspectives. We know that. This means that how you perceive someone will influence the way they show up in your reality. It's not that you're changing them, you're changing your perception, and as a result, you shift into a version of reality where their behavior aligns with your new perspective. Here is how it works. When you focus on someone's negative traits or behaviors, you are actually tuning into a version of them that reflects those traits. But when you consciously choose to focus on their positive qualities or potential, you align with a reality where they begin to reflect those traits instead. Let's look at a couple of examples to make this clearer. In love, imagine you feel that your partner has been inattentive or distant. Instead of focusing on what's missing, start shifting your perspective. See them in your mind as loving, attentive, and present. Picture them doing something kind or thoughtful for you. When you consistently hold this vision, you'll start noticing subtle changes in their behavior. Over time, they will begin to reflect the loving version you've been focusing on. But this should not be long. And also, if you are in that state perspective, you won't even perceive how much time. If you're thinking about that, you have a perspective, I have to change them, which is the opposite. And let's say in the workplace, say you have a coworker who feels difficult. Instead of reinforcing that idea in your mind, start imagining them as helpful, friendly, and easy to work with. Picture them collaborating with you in a positive way. Again, as you hold this new perspective, you'll notice their actions starting to align with it. They may unexpectedly offer to help you or start communicating with you in a better way. The important thing to remember is that it's not about controlling others or forcing them to change. It's about shifting your perception, which allows you to tune into a version of reality where their behavior matches the ideal version you've envisioned. And when you do this, it feels like magic, but it's really just you exercising your power as a conscious creator. Now that we understand how others are reflections of you, let's talk about something equally important: the role you play in maintaining their energy, whether it's positive or negative. Here is the key. The energy you focus on and believe about someone reinforces that energy in them. If you continually see someone as negative, rude, or difficult, you're essentially feeding that version of them in your reality. On the other hand, if you choose to focus on their positive traits, no matter how small, you're amplifying and nurturing that positive version of them. Let's go back to the love scenario. Maybe your partner has a habit of leaving their things all over the house, and it drives you crazy. If you keep focusing on how messy and thoughtless they seem, you're energizing that version of them. But what if you instead start noticing and appreciating the times they do something thoughtful, like making a cup of coffee or remembering something important to you? By focusing on those positive actions, you're reinforcing a version of them that is thoughtful, considerate. You'll find that the things that bother you start fading away. Now let's talk about what happens when you fully trust this law, when you truly believe that your perception creates your reality. Something amazing happens. You stop being bothered by what others do, by what others say. Why? Because you understand that everything starts and ends with you. You know that others are only reflecting your beliefs back to you. Once you shift your perception and see them differently, they naturally start to behave in ways that align with your new vision. This realization gives you a deep sense of peace because you're no longer at the mercy of external circumstances or other people's actions. Here's something even more powerful. When you know that you're creating your experience, you stop seeing others as wrong or bad. Instead, you begin to feel compassion for them. You realize that if they are acting in a way that seems negative, it's because they don't fully understand their own power to create their reality. Let me share a personal example. There was a time when someone close to me was constantly critical and negative, connected to the fact that I have a different perspective about life, manifestation, and so on. It used to bother me so much, but then I decided to apply this law consciously. Instead of reacting or trying to change them, I started imagining them as calm, understanding, kind. I held that vision every time I thought about them. I began noticing little changes. First, this person started speaking to me with more respect. The criticism became less frequent. Eventually, our relationship transformed completely at the end. What surprised me most was that I didn't feel angry or upset anymore. Instead, I felt sorry for them, realizing they didn't yet understand the power they had over their own experience. And this shift in perspective was so freeing. Instead of being upset, I felt empowered. I knew that I was the creator of my reality, and the changes I saw in them were a direct reflection of the inner work I've done. Here's the takeaway. When you trust the process and focus on the reality you want, you naturally stop being bothered by others. And finally, let's talk about time a little bit, which is one of the trickiest concepts to grasp when it comes to manifestation and conscious creation. Here is the truth. Time as we know it is just an illusion. It's not linear. It's entirely based on our perception. When you don't see immediate changes in your 3D, it's easy to feel discouraged and think your efforts aren't working. But here is where understanding the illusion of time becomes so powerful. And the version of reality you're manifesting already exists now. It's simply about aligning yourself with it. Even if it hasn't shown up in the physical world yet, you can trust that it's already done. You are on that timeline. Think of it this way. If you were driving to a destination, you wouldn't stop halfway and assume you'll never get there just because you can't see it yet. You trust that the destination exists, and as long as you stay on the road, you'll arrive. Manifestation works the same way, but don't get this as a process because we put ourselves in a waiting mode. We just focus on the destination and that's it. This understanding of time helps you stay grounded and confident even when you don't see the evidence right away. And you stop stressing about when. The timeline then unfolds naturally, often faster than you expect, because you're no longer resisting it with doubt, impatience. For example, let's say you're manifesting a promotion at work. You've been visualizing it, focusing on your confidence and leadership, but weeks go by and nothing happens. Instead of thinking, why isn't this working? Remind yourself that the timeline already exists where you're in that new role. Trust that. As long as you stay aligned, it will materialize. You don't need to see it right now in the 3D to know it's real. And don't forget, who got that promotion already doesn't have this perspective. You have to realize that the physical world always catches up to your inner world. So my love, keep this in your heart. The way you see the world shapes the way it shows up for you. Trust yourself and let life reflect the beauty you hold inside. Love you. Bye.